Trophy hunting is a lot like dating. You happily go around sticking your controller into every title that moves until eventually one captures your full attention. Every now and then we run into that one game that just wows us on every conceivable level. The ones that when going for platinum are made even better by their trophy lists. Today I want to take 5 minutes to tell you about the first PS5 title that made me feel this way. One of my favourite of the early releases for the generation, a game that is visually and narratively absolutely spectacular, is Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, despite being anxious and distrusting of what James Gunn will do with his upcoming DCEU, there is no one that can tell me his Guardians trilogy isn't easily one of the best comic book trilogies, nay, cinematic trilogies of all time. So the pressure was on the game right from the off, but I'm telling you honestly, Square Enix did an absolutely brilliant job with this game. This is my mini platinum adventure for Guardians of the Galaxy, so let's go. As usual, before starting, I took a quick glance at the guides to see if there were any major missable trophies, and yeah, okay, Guardians does have a few, but these are limited to a couple of miscellaneous trophies, and the rest are all collectibles. The one trophy I was warned about by friends was in fact the second of the miscellaneous trophies, the Galactic Frugality Bronzer, for paying my Nova Core fine. So I went in with the knowledge that I couldn't spend any of my hard-earned credits, just in case. We play as Peter Quill and sadly do not get the chance to play with any of the other cast. I think this is the only negative I can give the game, as it felt like a hugely missed opportunity to not have access to the rest of the Guardians. You can involve them in combat, but it's pretty clunky and not the best system if I'm honest. This is saved by glorious banter between them, but I still felt like the game would benefit from character-specific level design, such as Rocket going through ventilation shafts to do a stealth mission, or Groot for levels that require you to go higher or bigger. Maybe even a Ghost Runner type level that Gamora could be the focus for as she runs and slices her way through some of the MCU's worst villains and their hordes of minions. But in the early levels, this isn't a big deal. It's only later on, when the combat system has become repetitive and stale, that you start to notice it. Anyway, without any effort, simply following the game instructions, I win the bet against Rocket to earn my first trophy, the Eat It Rodent Bronzer. Locked in, no turning back. Not that I'd ever want to anyway. Now, the story takes 12 to 15 hours and is one of the best written narratives in modern gaming. There is peril, excitement, fear, hope, desperation, and arrogance, with a healthy dose of tear-jerking moments to make Guardians a truly wonderful experience. Every character is written well and given enough scope to evolve slightly within the game, and the relationships between not only the Guardians but external characters sublimely. The story is pretty easy with very little to challenge you. The PSNP guides gives Guardians a 3 out of 10 for difficulty, and it's kind of hard to argue with that. The combat system is clunky and at times pretty frustrating, but the enemies go down relatively easily, and other than a couple of mild, tricky spots, there isn't anything to really panic about. About halfway through, I'd already collected most of the collectible trophies and even paid my Nova Core fine with no fuss. Collectibles are easy to find and well tracked, however, if you do miss them, you will be forced to do a full second playthrough, which you might not want to do. I don't want to ruin this excellent story, so I'm not going to recap it here at all. But I will say it builds brilliantly and the pacing is simply perfect. As the story evolves and moves forward, the action speeds up and this creates a glorious fluidity that works exceptionally well. By the time you reach the narrative's climax, you just know it can't get any bigger or more exciting than it just got. People like to argue with me about my feelings on how underwhelming I found God of War Ragnarok. Guardians builds and builds, paying off everything it puts out, whereas Ragnarok, for me, falls flat at the very end. This could be because the end of the Ragnarok story isn't actually the end of Ragnarok's story. You still have to do 30 hours to get the best bits out of the game, so maybe that's the problem. Whereas Guardians finishes at the end, and it's quite possible to only have a few trophies left to do, like I had after this conclusion. But this is a platinum adventure, so obviously we have some cleanup to do. I still have a few miscellaneous combat trophies that really I should have cleaned up during my playthrough, but I refused to look at a guide as I played because I was having such a great time with this. I had a remaining 3 combat trophies and the Fashion Passion Silver. These were easy to knock out with chapter select. The Skate Buster and Groot Canal bronzers were quick and easy to collect, but I was still missing an outfit. For the first time since before I began the game, I had to look up a guide to find out exactly why I had 2 missing Star-Lord outfits. It turns out they immediately unlock in New Game Plus, so there. Final trophy, and I headed back to my original save to grab the Drax the Dismemberer bronzer, and with it, the Platinum trophy. This is what we do. Guardians of the Galaxy is a simple solo with a 3 out of 10 difficulty and a 15 to 20 hour completion time. This is a platinum that every gamer should go for, not just trophy hunters, because it really does get the most out of the game. That is my 5 minutes for this mini platinum adventure up. Have you platted Guardians of the Galaxy? Are you going to? Have you stacked it? Are you going to do that? I'm definitely going to. Let us all know what you think of this brilliant game in the comments. I'm Zach, she's Cruise, ZXL. Be good to each other.